Maybe it was in your yoga class that you first heard the term Ayurveda. Maybe you had an entire module on Ayurveda, but still was left with a lot of questions. Maybe it was some herbs that piqued your curiosity, that you saw some research articles on them, the health benefits of, turmeric. Maybe it was a random video that popped up in your feed that explained the benefits of Ayurveda. Whatever be the reason, I'm sure each one of you here wants to know more about Ayurveda. What is Ayurveda? Namaste. My name is Kamya Pillai. I'm a Vaidya, meaning I'm a BMS graduate, a classically trained Ayurvedic doctor with more than 15 years of experience. I have been working with Kerala Ayurveda as a faculty and a specialist Ayurvedic consultant since 2014. Before we learn about Ayurveda or we get into what is Ayurveda, let's look at what is not Ayurveda. Ayurveda is not herbal medicine. It's neither a folklore nor Indian medicine. It's not limited to any geographical location, even though India has preserved the science in spite of having gone through, different rulers. Ayurveda is not another form of alternative medicine. There was this famous quote from Albert Einstein that you cannot solve problems with the same thinking that we created it in the first place. This is the state of health and well being in today's world. We need to think differently. And that is where the re emergence or rediscovery of Ayurveda becomes significant. Uh, so, before I get into what is Ayurveda, let's look at this term Ayurveda. It's made up of two words, Ayus and Veda. Ayus means life, and Veda means science or knowledge. For anybody who is hearing the term Veda for the first time, Veda is that immense source of knowledge. These are ancient scriptures that were written in archaic Sanskrit language, and it contains it unveils universe's deepest truths. So Ayurveda comes from the Vedas. It's a Vedic science. And like any other Vedic science, its goal is to increase our potential. It's not just our physical potential, but our emotional, spiritual, mental potential. It is world's oldest and the most comprehensive system of healthcare. It is said that Ayurveda is about 5,000 years old, most, the oldest written document based on the oldest, available written document. But Ayurveda was existing even before that in the form of oral tradition and was passed from generations to generation. Ayurveda is a science that really honors the individual. Whatever care is given, whatever recommendations are given, is completely based on the individual. And that's the reason why it has become more and more popular. It gives a lot of importance to self awareness. That is the key to healing as per Ayurveda. A simple definition of Ayurveda goes like this: Ayusha Palanam Vedaha, the art that helps us, or the science that helps us to have a happy, healthy, peaceful, and disease free life. So, in short, simple terms, this is a quotation from Charaka Samhita. It says Ayurveda is anadi. Anadi means it has no beginning. So when we talk about the origin of this science, it is mentioned that seeing the suffering of human beings, Brahma had to remember or recollect this science, indicating that it was already present. It was that knowledge that was already prevalent in the society, and he had to remember it or recollect it. This is this is showing that Ayurveda is nothing but the common sense science. It is that innate wisdom that is present in each and every one of us. It is the reason why, seeds sprout, or, the monarch butterflies migrate. All of this, which is hardwired into us, any living being. It's not just about humans, it is all embracing, all encompassing, the plant life, animal life, human life, everything comes under its purview. So it is that innate wisdom. And whenever we forget it, that's when diseases happen. So learning Ayurveda is nothing but remembering or recollecting our true nature. And that is what this quotation tells. And for no time, at no time there was a break either in the continuity of life or in the continuity of intelligence. So it was not that this science, developed just in India, but it got influenced by many other, philosophical thought, schools, and it also was disseminated across the world. So we can see Ayurvedic textbooks, some of the main textbooks, like the one mentioned here, Charaka Samhita. There is Sushruta Samhita, Ashtanga Hridaya. All these texts can be found in different languages, translated to different languages like Arabic, Chinese, Tibetan, or Persian. It shows how Ayurveda influenced the medical systems in many parts of the world. Just to give you a context, Susruta, the sage who wrote the textbook Sushruta Samhita, is regarded as the father of surgery, father of modern surgery. And that's for a reason. Even though rhinoplasty was prevalent in ancient European countries for a long time, they all struggled with this, the right method of repairing the nose. So they would all undergo, anybody who required repair of the nose would undergo the surgery by utilizing skin from the upper arm. But it was found that within no time, the the structure would disintegrate, the tissue would get damaged. So there, for a long time, people struggled with this problem. And it was Susruta who postulated that the skin of the surrounding structures, like, the cheek area or the forehead, should be used so that we can ensure good prognosis post surgery. So, this is just one example to show how, even though this is an ancient science, how advanced was this science technically. Ayurveda considers all levels of individual body, mind, and spirit. So, until the 17th century, there was this Cartesian view of looking at body and mind differently. If body had certain problems, if there was some disease or people were suffering, then they would go to the doctor. The idea of having problems with the mind was not even acknowledged or treated until the middle of 19th century. It was like, the idea was that if there is any problem with your mind suffering, or you need more guidance with your soul, then you have to go to certain philosophy, schools of philosophy, whereas health was more the focus of a physician. And it was like trying to understand one thing very differently. There is this ancient parable of blind men going to see elephant. Each one of them tried to touch and understand one part of elephant. So the person who touched the leg had one experience, the person who touched the trunk had another, tusk had another experience, ear had another experience. And, there was no crosstalk, there was no sharing of information. Each believed entirely what his own experience was, and failed to see what the other person was seeing. So this was a huge disconnect. It was like a ideological myopia that medicine had until recently. Now things are slowly changing, and mental diseases are accepted and studied in great detail. Ayurveda goes a step further, and it says that we need to have balance at these different layers, not just the physical, but mental, emotional, as well as spiritual level. Ayurveda emphasizes prevention. There are two goals for this science. One, and the most important, is prevention of diseases. The other is treatment of diseases. And always the focus was on prevention. How can we prevent diseases? How can we make sure that you are healthy, and even if you fall ill, you can regain your strength by yourself? Because not even the best doctor in the world can treat or cure any disease unless we decide, right? So the nature is the one that heals, nature is the one that treats. This is one of the core principles of Ayurveda. It preserves and optimizes health of the healthy. So it again emphasizes the fact that health is nothing but having harmony at these different levels: mind, body, and spirit level. There is no limit to the degree of balance that one can achieve, any sincere health seeker can achieve. And that is another tenet of Ayurveda. Uses natural ways to prevent and manage diseases. So always it utilizes natural remedy. When we say Ayurveda is holistic, it comes from the Greek word holos, which means whole. The person is viewed as a whole. His physical, mental, spiritual layers are considered, and the remedies that we suggest are also holistic, meaning, if we take the example of a herb, we never utilize just the active principle of a herb. The herb is always used in its natural state. So that is another way of looking at the holistic approach of Ayurveda. It empowers everyone to take responsibility about their own well being. This is always an idea that is given, that you can just delegate your health to others. If you go to the best doctor or you go to the best health facility, then you are good. If you do regular, visits to your physician, then you will be healthy. It's a very wrong idea that is given in the current world. The truth is that for you to stay healthy, you are the responsible person. You have to take the driver's seat of this car called life. And Ayurveda gives you that user's manual, which you can refer. It increases healing capacity by living in tune with nature. This is one of the core principles of Ayurveda. As is the macrocosm, so is the microcosm. Yatha pinde tatha brahmande. We are a reflection of nature. Whatever we observe outside our body happens within our body as well. So when we look outside, we see sun, we see moon, we see all these different, animals and plants, and there are moving, non-moving things, living, non-living things. Ayurveda says that we are all made up of the five basic elements, or the building blocks of life are these five elements. These are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Ether is the lightest. It is what gives, we can think about it as the space within us, outside us, the space where other elements manifest. Even the term ethereal comes from this root word. So, ether is considered as the lightest or the subtlest of all the elements. Then comes air. The hallmark of air element is movement. So there is space and then comes air with its movement. When we use these terms, we have to remember that these are not what we understand in our day to day life as earth or water. We're talking about the building blocks of life, the elemental, at the elemental level. Bhuta, these are called Pancha Maha Bhuta. Bhu means that which exists. So it is that which exists in each and every one of us. Coming to fire element, it is something that we can see, and also there is heat. So that is the characteristic of fire element. Then comes water. Water is flowing, right? It is dynamic. We know that it can take the shape of whatever container it is in. And don't get fooled by the soft nature of water. It can erode through rocks, and it can create caves and whatnot. Then comes the very solid and the grossest of all elements, earth. So earth is what keeps us rooted, keeps us grounded. And these five elements is what makes up our universe. So that is the common thread that we find in all of us, right? Yet we find that we are so different. We are so different from each other. Even twins, they will have differences, right? So what makes us different? These ancient sages asked all these questions, and from their deep, insights and generations of practical wisdom, they found out the answers. They found that within each one of us, these elements exist in different combinations, and that combined with our mind and our soul is what makes us so unique. The concept of Prakriti is so important in Ayurveda. It helps us understand who we are, what our true nature is, what our likes are, what our dislikes are, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are our disease tendencies, hobbies, idiosyncrasies, what not. So, this difference stems from the unique combination of the elements that decides our temperament and nature. The three doshas are nothing but a combination of the five elements. Vata, which is the first dosha, it is considered as the master dosha or the king dosha because it is so dynamic. It can control the other two doshas. Vata is a combination of ether and air, the lightest elements. And because of that, Vata is light, dry, rough, mobile, and it is known as the energy or the principle of movement, the energy of action, the energy of transportation. All the movements in our body, when Vata is projected on our body, it is what creates all different movements, be it the movement of our, hands, or, the very visible movements, or the invisible intracellular, intercellular movements. It is all related to, or it is all controlled by Vata. Then comes a very interesting energy, Pitta. Pitta is known as the energy of transformation, conversion, and digestion. It is a combination, it's a strange combination of water and fire. In nature, we don't see this combination often. So, the water in this combination helps to keep the fire controlled. And we know that only controlled fire can be helpful, can help in transformation, can help in cooking. Open, uncontrolled fire is always dangerous. So, within our body, within our system, Pitta is projected as our power of digestion, our power of transformation. Kapha is the energy of construction, lubrication, and nourishment. It is that balancing, that stabilizing energy that helps to keep things together. It is a combination of the heaviest elements, water and earth. It is what helps to keep those earth principles suspended in a very flowing water medium. And this fine balance is what keeps us healthy. If there is any increase of these qualities, say, for example, the water reduces in the kapha and the solid nature, the earth element becomes more, then that can lead to a lot of imbalances and diseases, creating stagnation, blockage, stone formation. All this can happen. So having this combination in in a certain ratio, in a certain proportion, is what makes it help to maintain health, and it's what helps with doing all the different functions in the body. It is like a machinery where Vata is the one that keeps the machine moving. It is that force which helps to keep the machine moving, whereas Pitta is the heat that is generated because of these movements. And Kapha is kind of like that grease or the oil which is applied to keep things safe, to keep things protected, well lubricated and stable. So this is, a simple analogy to understand the Tridosha and how it works in our body. Let's move on to the next slide. Ayurvedic tools. So how does Ayurveda help? It helps us to understand and maintain health. It gives us certain unique concepts, certain lexicon terms like dosha, agni. And these terms, once we understand the concept really well, we can utilize these terms to communicate about health or disease, to understand the level of our health, to understand the degree or extent of imbalances. And that can help to become our own doctor so that we don't have to run to a physician every time we have small problems, small health concerns. It helps us understand health or balance at these different layers. It gives us tools to recognize and prevent imbalances or diseases. Ayurveda is a science that has actually mentioned 19 different stages before a person gets full fledged diabetes. So it is that detailed when it comes to disease and disease management. To support healing, like I mentioned earlier, we are the one that heal. Nature is the one that can heal or cure. So to enhance or to initiate that healing process within us, we have to follow the rhythm of nature. We have to implement certain practices. We have to incorporate certain dietary modifications. We have to make changes to the inputs of our life. And only then can we be in balance. Only then can we manage or prevent diseases. And this is what Ayurveda helps us with. Understanding that, even WHO has recently observed that the burden of non communicable diseases in the global scenario has drastically increased. Even if you take just one factor, the deaths related to cardiovascular diseases has increased by 60% in the last 30 years. So, having knowledge of these Ayurvedic principles help us to prevent any lifestyle related diseases. It helps us understand what are those patterns that we need to change, right? Because when we follow the rhythm of nature, then our health comes naturally. It is like music. And if we don't follow the rhythm, um, if you're not attuned to your true nature, then there's cacophony. And that's what Ayurveda, um, the basic wisdom of Ayurveda is all about. There is more to it, but this is, in short, an introduction to this beautiful science. Now, what will you gain by learning Ayurveda? That's a question I often hear. I've not seen even one person who did not gain anything after learning this science. It says, Kvachit dharmaha, Kvachit arthaha, Kvachit maitri, Kvachit yashaha, Karmabhyasa Kvachit cheva, Chikitsa nasti nishphalam. So, this pursuit to health, this pursuit to healing, by understanding and implementing Ayurvedic principles. This is what we call Ayurvedic life. And this has never become futile. Sometimes, for some people, it helps them to understand what their dharma is. What is it that they want to do in their life? What is it that motivates them every day? That to recognize their unique role in this life. Why are they this, a certain way? What are the experiences that they had gone through, and how it creates a unique position for them in this world? For some, it helps to gain material things, gaining material things for having security. It might give them a career, to make money out of it. For some, it may give open doors to new relations. It might help them make themselves better mother, better father, better friend. So it opens doors to new, more, stronger, sustainable relations in life. Maybe making more friends in life. For some, it gives fame. It makes them famous. And for some, it helps to hone their skills, sharpen their tools, and it helps them to become a more compassionate person with a new outlook to life. It makes us a better version of ourselves. I hope learning this science will give you a lot of valuable insights and help you radically transform your life. Thank you so much for listening to me. Namaste.